In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this cute little 3x3 mini album using just one sheet of 12x12 pattern paper. Hi, this is Anna of Crafty Anna Studio. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I post paper crafting and card making tutorials. Before we get into the tutorials, I just want to show you these two mini albums that I made using one sheet of 12x12 pattern paper. These two albums are constructed pretty much the same way, but they do have slight variations. For this one, I created a frame in front where you can insert a photograph. The pages are exactly the same. They're all pocket pages where you can insert photographs or journaling cards. This one has a slight variation. I made the first page quite plain. Second page, I added a diagonal pocket. The next page, I kept it plain. The next one has a side pocket. The next page is a top pocket. The next, I kept it plain. This one has a diagonal pocket. The next one is quite plain. Both albums have a front and back cover, which I will also show you how to make. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. I have here a 12x12 sheet of pattern paper. This is from Paper Rose from their Bees and Butterflies collection. Ideally, you would need a non-directional pattern, but this one seems busy enough that it doesn't actually matter. And you also don't need double-sided pattern paper for this, but this is what I had in hand, so that's why I'm using it. I'm going to bring out my paper trimmer and I'm going to trim off the strip at the bottom to make this sheet exactly 12 inches by 12 inches. I'm going to set this strip aside because the other side has a pattern which I can use for future projects. Now that I've trimmed the paper, I'm going to bring out my scoreboard. I'm going to place the paper on top. It doesn't really matter what direction it's in. And then with my score tool, I'm going to score at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and score again at 3 inches, 6 inches, and then at 9 inches. And that's all the scoring we need to do for this project. Next, I'm going to fold in on all the scored lines. I'll fold it all in on the 3 scored lines on one side, turn it around, and then fold it in on all the 3 scored lines on the other side. Next, we're going to do some cutting. Do you see where the folds intersect on the upper left-hand side? We're going to use our scissors and cut it from the bottom of the page all the way up to where it intersects at the top. So I'm just going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut along that folded line all the way to the top and stopping it at that intersection. Next, on the other side of the paper, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to cut it all the way up to that first intersection between the fold lines. So now it's going to look something like this. So then you're going to turn the paper to the other side and you're going to cut from the bottom of the page all the way up to where that 2 folds intersect. So I'm using my scissors once again and I'm going to cut along the folded line all the way to the top, right where those 2 lines intersect. And I'll stop right there. So now this looks like a W, but we're going to turn the paper once again and now it looks like an M. And this is where we're going to start folding. Now, I have to decide which page, or which pattern, I mean, is going to be inside and which one is outside. So this floral pattern will be the inside pages and this gingham pattern will be the outside. So I'm going to start folding it in like an accordion all the way up, around, down, around, turn again, up, then around, always keeping in mind that this is the front cover. And I'm going to finish it off with the last few accordion folds. And then I'm going to, that's the front and that's the back. Then I'm going to press it down really well on all sides just to make sure everything is nice and flat. So this is what it should look like. You have the gingham pattern on the outside and then the floral pattern on the inside. And these are all the pages. Now it's time to make the pockets for this album. I'm going to bring in this album to serve as a reference. I will leave the first 2 pages quite plain, meaning I'm not going to create any pocket. The second page, or the second set of pages, I'm going to add a diagonal pocket right here. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut a pocket. About 1 inch from the bottom, I'm going to place my scissors and cut diagonally all the way to the upper left-hand corner, just like that. So that would be the second set of pages. Next, I'm keeping that plain as well, meaning I won't put any pockets. For this one, I want to do a side pocket with a little opening so I can insert a journaling card or maybe a photograph. So I'm going to cut a notch right here and I'm going to take my circle punch. This is a 1-inch circle punch and I'm just going to punch it halfway through right in the middle. Just like that. Then that would be the side pocket. For this set of pages, I'm going to create a top pocket. I'll do the same. I'm going to take my circle punch, just eyeballing it. I'm going to punch it right in the middle. And that will be my top pocket. The next set of pages I'll keep plain. The next one I'm going to cut a diagonal pocket, but this time on the left page. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did the other pocket, about 1 inch from the bottom, cut diagonally all the way to the top corner. Next, this one I'm going to leave plain. I'm not going to add a pocket. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted some space to put photographs or to write something on it. I didn't want each and every page to have a pocket, but feel free to do that for your album. So now I'm going to glue this down. So the first page, I'm going to put a lot of glue in between and glue it down. And that creates the first page. For the second page, you have the diagonal pocket. So I'm going to add glue on this side and also on this side. Just a very thin bead of glue on both sides. Then I'm going to close it up, press it down for a bit until the glue dries, and so that will be the diagonal pocket. Next, I'm going to keep that plain, meaning no pocket, so I'm just going to glue that down. I'm just going to add a lot of glue in between, close it up and press it down. So now I have a third page. For this one, you have the side pocket with a notch. So I'm going to glue on the left side and at the bottom. I'm going to add a thin bead of glue right on the left and at the bottom. Going to close it, and that creates a side pocket. Next, I'm going to glue down the top pocket. I'm going to add glue to the left side and at the bottom. But first I'm going to trim this little thing that's sticking out at the top, and just trimming it off with my detailed scissors. Then I'm going to add glue just at the very edge of the left side and at the bottom. Then I'm going to close it up, give it a good press, and now I have the top pocket. Then this is a diagonal pocket, and I'm going to add glue to both sides. A thin bead of glue on one side and on the other, then close it up, press it down a bit until the glue is a little bit dry, and then I'll glue down the last page. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole album. What you can do is you can decorate the front and back pages if you want, but I want to create a cover for this album, just like I did this one. So you can see there's a hard cover at the back and at the front. But instead of decorating the front with ephemera, I'm going to put a frame instead. And I'm going to show you how to do that. For the frame, you will need thin strips of foam tape. This one is from scrapbook.com, but you can use alternatives, which I will explain later on. Then you will also need some double-sided tape. You'll also need to cut out a square frame. This one I used the stitched square frame from Paper Rose. But if you have square infinity dies, you can create your own frame. I cut a few more to add dimension. Then I have a piece of acetate, just slightly smaller than the frame. Then I have 2 pieces of cardboard cut to 3 1/8 by 3 1/4. The 1/8 is at the top, that's why I put an arrow pointing to the top. And the reason being is because this side will be at the same level as the spine. 2 pieces of coordinating pattern paper. This one are just scraps that I'm using. It's cut through 3 3/4 by 3 7/8. Then I also place directional arrows to know which way is up. Before I put the cover together, I'm going to assemble my frames. I'm going to glue down a couple of frames behind the yellow one, just to add a little bit of stiffness to it. Then I'll flip it to the back side and add the acetate. I'll put a thin bead of glue around the inner part of the frame and then place the acetate on top, making sure the whole opening is covered in acetate. Then I'm going to take the foam tape, the thin strip of foam tape, and I'm going to add it on the 3 sides of the frame, just at the very edge. I mentioned before that you don't really need this double-sided tape. If you can just cut thin pieces of cardboard and stack them up so that there's a little bit of room to insert a photo, it should be okay. After I finish putting foam tape on all 3 sides, I'm going to start working on the cover. First, I'm going to add double-sided tape to the cardboard. Next, after removing the release paper, I'm going to place it down right in the middle of the back side of the pattern paper, keeping in mind the direction of the arrows. Next, I'm going to miter each corner. Next, I'm going to take my score tool and score around the edges of the cardboard. This basically will make the paper bend a little easier and will prevent it from cracking. I'm sure this paper won't crack, but I just didn't want to take the chance, and it's also a force of habit. Then I will add glue to all four sides and then fold it in. Then I'll put something heavy on top while I work on the other cover. Off camera, I already added double-sided tape to this side and took out the release paper. But I will still add glue all over, especially on the edges, so that it will give me a little bit of wiggle room while I attach it to the front of the mini album. So keeping in mind the arrow pointing upwards, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make sure that one side is level with the spine. Then you have a little bit of an allowance on the top, the bottom, and on one side. I flip it over, wiggle it around to make sure everything is leveled before pressing it down. I'll put something heavy on top while it dries. Next, I will add glue again to the back cover. That's the front. I'm going to now glue this to the back, also making sure one side is leveled with the spine. That's why it's essential to put glue, because it does give you that wiggle room to make sure everything is evenly placed. And that is the cover. Next, I'll add the frame. That's the top part, so I'll remove the release paper of the double-sided foam tape, add some glue onto the tape, again for the very same reason of giving me a little bit of wiggle room. Eyeballing it, I'm just going to place it right in the middle. And when everything is centered, I'll press it down. So here you can insert a photo at the top. And as a final touch, I'm just going to add a little bit of ephemera on the corners just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm just going to choose from my pack of coordinating ephemera and glue them down on the upper left-hand side and the lower right. And that is pretty much it. The album is done. So are you going to try to make this album? I have to warn you, it's pretty addicting because I can't stop making this. It's so easy and I get to use up my 12 by 12 papers. These albums are also great for craft fairs or to give as gifts. So many occasions you can use it for. And you can also do your own variations of pockets for this album. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and if you haven't subscribed, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate it, and I hope to see you here again soon. And if you're interested in this bees and butterflies collection, I'll have it linked in the video description below. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful and crafty day. Till next time, bye!